I come home and I see this, which makes me want to vomit. Did anybody see this last night? This is from a CNN reporter. A CNN reporter. I'm going to play it for you.
This taper is good for the girls.
Right.
Anything that's tapered.
Right. Well, I want to do the DMR.
I agree with you, right? Yes, I agree.
You're slightly biased, though?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And then the other side of the story.
This is from a CNN reporter. We kind of forced Kamala Harris to try on this awesome oversized rainbow sequin jacket. She snapped it up. Perfectly named it is as the Mardi Gras jacket, hashtag 2020, hashtag South Carolina, hashtag campaign finance fashion report. Again, this is CNN national political reporter covering Kamala Harris and the 2020 presidential. My fifth. Trained as a reporter in Texas, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, D.C., California, and apparently, Macy's Fifth Avenue. She's been trained at. This is a CNN national political reporter. There was a whole lot of media adoration for Barack Obama in 2008, but that's just a whole nother level. What you just saw is a whole nother level of media. I mean, what do you call this? Propaganda? This is a whole nother level of the media is essentially trying to force California Senator Kamala Harris down your collective throats. I mean, again, I was on the road covering like real news, but you have a CNN reporter literally traveling with a candidate, which is normal. Certain, reporters are assigned to specific campaigns, and they're literally going shopping with Kamala Harris and like, hey, Kamala, hey, Senator, what about that outfit? And like tweeting about it like it's a normal thing for a journalist to be shopping with Kamala Harris. By the way, this comes after CNN gave Kamala Harris a 1 hour infomercial. A 1 hour infomercial. The day after she announced. Which next came a 1 hour infomercial for the universally loathed Starbucks billionaire Howard Schultz, who I think is polling at like 12%. 12% of the country likes Howard Schultz. You get a town hall. You get a town hall. I think it's absolutely absurd. The level of coverage, not just coverage, but downright giddy, like adoring coverage. Okay, not me. That Kamala Harris is getting. I have no problem with Kamala Harris running for president. I frankly don't know what Kamala Harris has accomplished to make her. I think she's qualified to run for president. She was Attorney General of California. She was the District Attorney of San Francisco. She's a United States Senator. I'm not saying she's not qualified, but I don't know what exactly has Kamala Harris done as a senator that speaks to you or to me or to anyone that she should be president of the United States. Nothing. And by the way, I tell Ty all the time I'm a hypocrite because I wasn't asking these questions of Barack Obama in 2008. I was more naive politically, and I was less informed about the corruption of the Democratic Party in 2008. I'm pretty informed about it now. But this adoring coverage to Kamala Harris, while Tulsi Gabbard has essentially been brushed away and silenced. This adoring coverage of Kamala Harris, while Tulsi Gabbard is painted as like a Russian, Syrian stooge. This adoring coverage of Kamala Harris, while Bernie Sanders is the most popular president, candidate, political figure in the United States. Do you see CNN giving Bernie Sanders an hour town hall right now? They did after he lost. And I said this at the time. Oh, CNN will give Bernie Sanders a 1 hour town hall. They'll have Bernie Sanders on to debate Ted Cruz when they could get ratings, because Bernie Sanders does equal ratings, but there's no threat of Bernie Sanders actually being elected president of the United States. So you see how that's unique? Bernie Sanders gets a town hall after he's officially not running for president, after he had lost the Democratic nomination, after Hillary Clinton had lost. All right, so now we could give Bernie Sanders an hour or an hour and a half in a debate with Ted Cruz because he's not a risk, he's not a threat. But let's see if CNN gives Bernie Sanders a 1 hour town hall after he announces his presidential run. Who wants to bet with me? Who wants to place a bet that Bernie Sanders will not get a 1 hour town hall after he officially announces for President of the United States? But you know who will? Kamala Harris, who within 24 hours moonwalked from her position for Medicare for all. Oh, well, you know, I'm open, of course, to different possibilities I'm open to. I'm open to, you know, a public option or Medicare buy-in or, you know, Medicare access or Medicare extra or whatever nonsense term they're coming up with. You know, I just find it, you know, Noam Chomsky talks about manufacturing consent. If this isn't manufacturing consent for Kamala Harris and manufacturing, what would you even call it, discontent or nothing, manufacturing nothing for Tulsi Gabbard? Now, you might have concerns. You might have concerns about Tulsi Gabbard. You know, I've raised some concerns when she announced that I would like her to answer, preferably in an interview. I've requested an interview with her. Her people have expressed interest, so we're trying to schedule something. Really what they're doing, CNN, and I just showed you one clip, which was ridiculous, like going shopping with Kamala Harris. They're giving, no offense, they're giving Amy Klobuchar, the senator from Minnesota, she announced her run for the presidency while Ty and I were on the road. They're giving her a 1 hour town hall. Elizabeth Warren announced, like, her exploratory committee, I think 2 months ago. Tulsi Gabbard announced, I think a month ago. I'm not a big fan of Julian Castro or, who's the other one? Kirsten Gillibrand, but they announced they're not getting a town hall. But look at the people that CNN is stuffing down your throat. Kamala Harris, who 6 months after becoming a senator, met with Hillary Clinton's top donors in the Hamptons. Kamala Harris, who literally has announced her run for the presidency, I think several weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Go to her website. It doesn't have a section for policy. It has her bio, a donation tab, a store where you could buy gear. She doesn't even have policy positions put up. If this isn't like, it's almost just like a brand. You know, it's like they're creating a brand around this person. And by the way, oh yeah, Pete Buttigieg as well, the South Bend, Indiana mayor. It's like a branding exercise. There's not like a lot of substance. And by the way, I don't think I have no problem with Kamala Harris running for president. I have no problem with her being on a debate stage. I think Bernie Sanders up against Kamala Harris, frankly, I don't even think that's a close contest. But I do think the National Democratic Party, and I always said this, I think Beto O'Rourke was going to fade away. And other than this little cable news double screen they had with Trump in El Paso and Beto leading the protest or whatever, Beto O'Rourke has kind of faded away a little bit. I always thought the corporate media and the DNC's favored choice was going to be Kamala Harris because she checks every box. And I don't mean this in a sexist way. I certainly don't mean this in a racist way. But the Democratic Party doesn't want to actually win on issues and policy because they don't have policy that represents working people. They want to win on identity. And some naysayers say, oh, identity politics, that's code for, you know, racism or you're being racist or civil rights. No, it's not. Identity politics means a party thinks that the answer is to just run somebody who is black, just run somebody who is a woman, just run somebody who is gay, just run somebody that is transgender, just run somebody that is indigenous. That's fine, but if they're centrist transgender people, if they're basically neoliberal gay folk, if they're neoliberal African Americans, I don't like them the same. If they're not right on the policy, I don't care what their skin color is. I don't care what their gender is. I don't care what their sexual orientation is. I care what their policy is. If Bernie Sanders was black, I'd like him the same. And most progressives I know would like him the same. But that's the problem with the Democratic Party. They're trying to force identity. And honestly, Kamala Harris's campaign officials aren't even hiding that. They are pushing people, the country is ready for, elected leaders that actually look like our voting bloc and actually look how the Democratic Party is. But, how did that work for you in 2016? Because Hillary Clinton didn't run on any issues. Can you identify what Hillary Clinton's economic plan is? I don't even say that sarcastically. I'm asking you. Can you identify what Hillary Clinton's economic plan was? I know what her slogan was, Stronger Together. What was her economic plan? Anybody? Exactly. Can you identify what her health care plan was? Expand Obamacare. How are you going to do it? We're going to expand Obamacare. Can you identify what her education plan was? I can't. I always say, because people who like to argue with me, well, Jordan, she's for Medicare for all. Was she for Medicare for all when she ran for California Senator? I don't care what they say when they're running for office. I care what they've said all along. If she was so for Medicare for all, for those of you watching from California, if she was so for Medicare for all, why didn't she run on that when she was running for California Senate when it was being debated in the California state legislature? Single payer in California was up for debate while she was running for Senate nationally. It passed the California Senate. It got blocked in the California House. If Kamala Harris thought single payer, Medicare for all, what did she say? And I feel very strong about this. Medicare for all is what we need federally. Why didn't she say that? Why didn't she run on that in California? Why is it, and I can't take credit for this, somebody on Twitter showed it. Why is it that in December, that would be 2 months and a half ago, she was tweeting out free public college, and now it's debt-free college. In her little CNN infomercial, for Medicare for all. Well, let's just get rid of it. Private insurance. 24 hours later, well, we got to be pragmatic. I'm open to a lot of possibilities. I don't care what you say you're for. I care what you've been for all along. I care because you can't be for Medicare for all and Medicare buy-in and public option and all these things. That doesn't mean that as a senator, listen, if the only option in front of you was, if there was an option for a Medicare to lower the Medicare age to 50 or whatever, I wouldn't say vote against it, because why not expand Medicare to people who are 50? But that's not a plan. That's just a stopgap measure. We need an overall plan that whoever we nominate and whoever we elect president is going to actually fight for. Not be like Obama and run on a certain thing like public option, and then the minute he gets in, he surrounds himself with Wall Street bankers in his cabinet and offers a Republican health care plan out of the Heritage Foundation. And by the way, this is all connected. So when Ty joins me and we talk about the General Motors layoffs and we talk about the weakening of labor unions, a big reason labor unions have been weakened in this country is because we don't have Medicare for all. Imagine for a minute if you got health care from the government and you were an auto worker, or you were a steel worker, or you worked at Sears, or you worked at Walmart, or you worked at fill in the blank. Would you feel just a little less fearful about going on a national strike if healthcare wasn't an issue and you already had healthcare? Think about it. Why do you think in France, the Yellow Vest movement, not that it's easy to go out there and protest, there are risks at protesting with your employer, but they have universal healthcare. So you don't have to worry about not having health care if you strike at a job. But in America, you do. You have to worry about getting fired and then having no health care for you or your children. But this thing with Kamala Harris and this loving adoration of Kamala Harris is frankly making me sick. And I know that, you're attacked if you say that, but this is not journalism. And this is not, this is them trying to rig it again, this time for Kamala Harris. I promise you, Kamala is the Democratic Party's candidate. I honestly think the only other person that the Democratic Party might move away from Kamala for is Joe Biden. And I'm thinking more and more that Joe Biden will not run. Joe Biden I don't think he's progressive. As I've reported over and over, he's just as bad as Hillary Clinton, maybe worse on policy. But he's also not stupid, and I think he sees the writing on the wall that somebody like him is not going to win in this progressive moment. But somebody who could win, the DNC thinks, is somebody that they could make into a progressive overnight. Somebody without that long of a record, somebody that is black, somebody that is a woman, somebody that gives a good speech, she does,